Hi, welcome back. This is just in. We watched The Witcher episode 3. We're now going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about the three biggest takeaways. So let's dive into it.
So, the first takeaway from this episode, and arguably the biggest takeaway of this episode, is that we are not watching what's happening to these characters sequentially. It looks like we are getting Yennefer's origin story while we're seeing what's happening to Geralt and Ciri in present time.
For sure. Yeah, I think this is a really cool way to attack her story and give us a vantage point of how she became who she is. Everybody knows Geralt's the big, ticket item. We know his vibe. We know where he's coming from. But to see a pretty equally powerful character in Yennefer and kind of get to see how she became who she is, I think that's cool that they dedicated an episode to her.
Yeah.
Arguably, I think that she becomes more powerful.
Oh, yeah.
I think that in this episode, you kind of see that transformation. I think for me, it's the time jump is only part of what makes this episode so significant, is the transformation of Yennefer. I think when you look at what the time jumps kind of signified for us, in that backstory is building her up to this like super crescendo, overpowered figure that she becomes.
For sure.
When you look at especially the scene that depicts her body transformation, from having kind of that disfigured physique to becoming who she is by the end of the episode, it's something that is a full body transformation.
For sure.
And a full personality transformation.
Yeah.
Full body.
Yeah.
Alright. So I'm just going to hijack everything for a second because as we were all watching naked Yennefer writhe around and, break, we forgot the biggest talk that she was mentioning for all of her scenes is power. She wants power, blah, blah, blah.
For sure.
So, part number 2, big takeaway, she shows up at this banquet in the past to get assigned a king, and she says, hey, everybody, come look at me. She gets herself a king, and they ride off together, okay? This is all for power. Now, the king that she took with her, point is she's got a king, which is a little step to power, which is the biggest thing that she's been talking about this entire time.
The one that she walks away with by the end of the episode is the king that's attacking Ciri's kingdom at the end of it.
Oh, Nilfgaard.
Yeah,
okay.
So she
So
is
it's the
now, the north.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's now the advisor to the coming king that's attacking.
From what we know, they're completely unmatched in the entire land, so they will inevitably wipe out everyone. To think that she could be behind this, or even manipulating where that army is going, and perhaps the hunt for Ciri, could she be involved in that? Those are questions that we haven't had answered yet.
And that's why this time thing is such a big thing. She walked away with that king. We don't know how far in the past that was.
We do, though.
But we know exactly because those kids were children.
Okay.
And Geralt is
then
who grow up and have incest and do a lot of weird things.
they have babies.
Just kind of a second big takeaway from this, we saw leading into this kind of ball that they had where these mages were kind of assigned to certain kings, we saw what was called the chapter, which was kind of like the, the council, the secret council, if you will, that was organizing where these mages were going and where they were, what kingdoms they were assigned to. And we know that initially Yennefer wasn't assigned to the king of Nilfgaard.
She was assigned to Ariad or something.
Initially,
and then there was a switch.
But then there was a switch last minute. This to me is where we start to see the division. And what we spoke about on the last episode that we covered. This is where I believe we started to see the dissension between Tissaia and Stragaborn. We know that Istrid was the one that fed Stragaborn this information about Yennefer having elf blood in her. It's that breaking apart the dissension within that group that is a big thing that has led us to the present time.
That's an important part, the dissension of the council, because we've only ever seen this council in the past, so we don't know what's happened to them. We
Where
know
they are now.
Stragaborn is in hiding. We don't know where Yennefer is, and we don't even know where Tissaia is. Almost called her tissue.
At the astrology ball, where everyone's getting their whammon, there's a whole lot of dirty looks, as Yennefer and her king are walking away from Stregobor, from his lackey, even from Tissue over there, Tessera.
Tessera!
Point is, none of the wizards like each other. Few things can happen. There's just going to be a whole bunch of infighting between everybody, and Stregobor's going to be the last one standing, and then, she just needs to kill him to take all the council seats.
Could be.
Or Yennefer just systematically picks off every single one of them on her own with her new boyfriend and the big mask army.
Another thing that's important at that ball, which is kind of the whole main story of the episode, is the king and the queen.
So, third biggest takeaway was we saw a young King Falsted at this event where these mages were being assigned to their kingdoms. And it came out through the episode that Falsted actually would engage in activities with his sister.
Sexual activities.
There was incest.
Those relations would produce a daughter. Astrid would actually be in love with Ada and curse this child. And that's how we would come to find out that the Striga was born.
Okay, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Let us know, as always, what you think of everything we talked about today. Down in the description below, we'll have a link to our last couple videos down in the description below as well. So be sure to check it out. Also, make sure you like the video if you like the video. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss our coverage. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.